Hey everyone, I'm Mary Beth McAndrews from Dread Central, and I am here today with Anna Diop and Sinqua Walls, the stars of the new film Nanny. Hello, I am so excited to chat.
Thank you.
Us
Excited to
too.
be
Yeah,
here.
we're glad to be
Yeah.
here.
So, my first question is for both of you, but we'll start with Anna. What drew you to the script?
Oof. I mean, really, what didn't draw me to the script, it was ah, everyone loved the script. I've been saying this
Mhm.
before the film was even greenlit throughout the industry. It was like, have you read this script?
Yes.
Oh,
It
cool.
was very much talked about. And when I finally read it, I completely understood why. Um, And for me, it was so deeply personal because the film is about a nanny, a domestic worker, and so many of the women in my life did this kind of work. Um, and these are women that I admire and who raised me and who I look up to and love and know are brilliant and beautiful people. And I've never seen them depicted on screen, not in this way,
Mm.
not focused on, not cared for in film on screen in this way.
Yeah.
Um, and so it was like a phenomenal honor to be able to do this project because of that. Again, because it's a story and a film about a woman that's like so many of the women that I've known and have always known. So
Yeah.
it's a resounding yes. It was the most obvious yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. That
And
was
then
beautiful. That's a beautiful. I really am an audience member right now listening to it and going, wow, that was it.
do you
Um,
have more to add?
I mean, I was fortunate enough that so many pieces of the movie were already brought to place before I was brought into the story. Um, the script was already phenomenal, written by a filmmaker that was already doing great things. I had saw Suicide by Sunlight, so I was familiar with her work. So I had that, and I already had Anna a part of it, and then I had to do a chemistry read with her, and it was like, wow, this person is so giving. This person is so present. This person is such a teammate. I didn't really have to do much but to say yes to a yes that was already in existence because it already had kind of been put in front of me in a great package, just to take that real quick.
And I
Yeah.
was
I didn't,
actually gonna.
I didn't even want to answer after that. I was just
No.
like, I'll let
But I actually wanted to ask about the chemistry because I mean you have amazing chemistry in this film, and a lot of the scenes that you have together, at least in the beginning of your relationship, are these moments of joy and intimacy that we don't get throughout this whole story. But also, we don't get a lot of that in general in horror. And I was just curious, like, what was it like to kind of establish this chemistry and then be able to have these kind of bright moments in a movie that is pretty dark?
Ugh. I mean, I will say that the experience of filming it um, was very much like the film, very testing, very painful, very
Okay.
heavy.
Mhm.
And then when I would have scenes, like I would look at the schedule and be like, oh, tomorrow I have a scene with Sinqua. Okay. And I could breathe and I could like feel light
Mhm.
and that's what Sinqua does for me, and that's what Malik does for Aisha.
Mm.
And it's
Yeah.
so gorgeous that we have this man that brought this light, like this beam of light into this project. And that was the intention that Nick Yatu had for this character. I mean, it was, but he elevated it in
Mm.
such a gorgeous way. But yeah, he served that purpose for me personally and for Aisha in this film. And you're right, we don't see that in this genre, which is another reason why Nick Yatu's
Just genius because
out of
she was able to
control.
break that with such like an intelligent. She
Yeah.
uses great devices
Hmm.
to add to the story because like you said, like even with it being a horror on its on its head,
Hmm.
it's so much more layers to it, and that's where all the other influence comes from. And then the idea of a relationship that has lived in horror films before, this one is a different perspective of what it adds to someone's journey.
Hmm.
And the chemistry was instant. I
Hmm.
mean, it was weird to have this amazing connection through electronics and on a Zoom call looking at each other from a monitor. But I
Yeah,
just
because our
remember
chemistry reads were over
it
Zoom.
it reads well over Zoom. People see it
Yeah.
all the time. But it was like, thank you. wow. And then it just built from there. And I think
Mhm.
it surprised both of us. We both were just like, okay.
Chemistry is like that though, when you come across a person in
Yeah.
life that you just vibe with,
Yeah.
it takes you by, it does for me at least, because it's rare.
You smell
Um,
really good, by the way.
Thank
I just have to
you.
say that. I'm sitting right
Oh my
here.
God, the chemistry between you guys now. I'm like, oh my God.
Thanks, Sinqua.
I'm grateful. Thank you for doing this interview so I can be here.
I'm so glad I could facilitate. But Anna, you talked about it being a difficult film, and I was going to ask you, I mean, you go through so many emotions, to put it lightly, in this movie. And was it hard to kind of get out of that when the films, like when the camera wasn't rolling, was it hard to kind of get back into being you and not the character and taking those emotions with you?
Ooh, I didn't even realize how much I was taking it with me each day until we wrapped.
Oh, oh,
The day we wrapped, I got home and I just like, I don't know. That's when I felt it. I was like, oh, you've been carrying this, but I didn't even realize when I was in it because I just kept my head down and was just getting through it, just like Aisha is.
yeah.
Um, and so, uh, yeah, I guess it was difficult. Yes,
Mhm.
but I didn't. I don't know, and that's something about survival too. When you're surviving, you're not aware of how much you're surviving.
Mhm.
You're not aware of how much you're surviving until there's a release or there's, something.
Some time to separate from it.
Yeah, and
I
then
think that's a great question because that was something that I would notice when I would come in every day in the work that we would do
mm,
is, it would be typically you have a Monday or a Tuesday, and then I'd come in on like a Wednesday or Thursday or Friday and close the week or whatever that was.
mhm,
And I was always so thrown by how light filled you were at walking into those moments. It wasn't like a moment of let me ground myself to come. It was like this modulation where I think I probably said it. I was like,
yeah,
wow,
you did.
how was the week? And she would just be like, we got through it. We did it. And I was just like, this is some heavy stuff for you to just be able to take off so quickly. But I
Yeah.
think, like you said, surviving.
Yeah.
And you survived it like a true soldier because
Oh,
I always thought that too, where I was like, this is great modulation because there's heavy stuff at the top of the week.
mm,
So
yeah.
kudos.
Thank you.
What
Thank
did
you.
what did Michelle say? Cahoots?
Cahoots.
Cahoots to you.
That's our word of the day. Michelle,
Cahoots to you.
our gorgeous Michelle Monaghan.
Yeah, what was it like working with her, by the way, in this movie?
What?
Phenomenal.
I've never worked with someone like
Mm,
Michelle.
Oh, really?
I hope that my career continues to look like that. I'm surrounded by artists like her because she's an artist. She
mhm,
really, 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 really is.
mhm.
Um, what can you say about Michelle? I don't know. You have to see this film. She's such a light
Yes.
person,
So
but this
poised.
film, she, eh,
She's so
It's a
poised.
side of her I haven't seen before, I feel like, in a
yeah,
lot of her work. She's
Yeah.
very fragile almost, but not really in this movie. And it's really
yeah.
fascinating to watch her perform in
She's like on
this.
the brink constantly,
Mhm,
Yes.
and you
mhm,
don't know
Yes.
how to like
mhm,
navigate her.
mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
sure.
like I said, fragile, yet visceral at the same
That's the word.
time. And you just felt like the connectivity, especially for you guys, like, we've got to watch it now. So I think people will see what is the greater connection is the both of you are on this brink. And so there's like
Yeah.
people going into battle every day. And it's
Mm-hmm.
you're one trigger away, and it doesn't even have to be a big one
Yeah.
for both of you to go. And that's what
Yes.
you feel tension, that tension just
The
the whole
tension.
time.
That's the film.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
So this is a horror movie, like for all intents and purposes. And I know that both of you have been in horror films or like genre adjacent projects. So what draws you to genre? Are you genre fans, or is it just kind of they happen to come across your proverbial desk?
I feel like they happen to come across my proverbial desk.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. What do you think?
Well, I have a
Are you
literal
drawn?
desk.
Yeah.
I have I have an actual desk. And I think it's the same. It's kind of the projects that are finding me through the process. And I
Mhm.
didn't
Okay.
plan, but sometimes there's a lot of great characters in those stories, and there's great performances in in those movies as well. I think
Mhm.
we have been blessed with a hybrid of something from a filmmaker that allows it to be elevated in such a way.
Yeah.
But there are so many performances that have lived in horror before, where if you took that performance and put it in something that was maybe revered even higher, that performance would still resonate. So I think it's just finding good content.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. That's awesome. And are you either of you fans of horror outside of your work? Like, are you big horror
I've
movie
watched a lot of
watchers?
horror films. I reluctantly watched a lot of horror films. Growing up, my sister would always go to the video store and she loved horror films. I think this was her thing. And even now we talk about it. And I always tell people I've watched every sleepaway camp.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you're like in the slasher, like you have watched like a lot of slashers and bad slashers, like some
Oh,
bad
late
ones.
night. I'm trying to go to sleep. We share the rooms, or like late night. I'm trying to go to sleep. She's watching Sleepaway Camp. Someone's getting, their neck slit, and she's laughing. And then I'm going to sleep. Like, think about that. The trauma of going to sleep to your sister laughing at someone getting it. That
That's so funny. That's so funny.
I still hear her laugh. I'm gonna do a horror film called The Laugh of My Sister.
You know what? That could kill, haha, kill. Anyway, and Anna, are you a horror fan at all?
I definitely growing up more so.
Okay.
Watched many more horror films, I would say, than I do now. But I love when genres are like fluid, like
Yeah.
the stuff that Jordan Peele does, right? When
Mhm.
there's like really strong characters and character arcs and and rich humans in
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
So for me, that's what I'm most attracted to, no matter what genre that's in.
Beautiful.
But I'm curious, like, what does horror mean to you? Like, why do you
Me.
love horror so much? Yeah, I am very curious.
Well, I grew up watching horror. Started watching horror when I was 4, which is inappropriate for a lot of reasons, but I think I love being scared, or I loved being scared for a long time. And then I took a horror movie class in college, actually, and started being like, oh, I love horror movies, and this is why, like being able to kind of dig into them.
Yeah.
And I just love what horror can do, different than any other genre. I think it taps into cultural fears so well. And I think that's
Mhm.
why I love Nanny, because Nanny has a perspective that we've never seen in horror. Like, horror is so white, and horror is so like very, what kind of stories we're going to get. And so Nanny is just so different from those kinds of stories. And thank God, because horror needs to kind of shift. But I think horror is starting to shift. And that's why I also love it so much. It's so attuned to our cultural moment, which I think is
Yeah.
really important. And even more now than ever before, because people are getting opportunities to actually tell their stories more than any
Yeah.
time before, I think.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And we're
Yeah.
overcoming horrors. That's really true.
Mhm.
Yeah. But I think my final question actually was going to be like, what does it mean for the both of you to be in this film that we have never, like, taking on explicitly the African experiences and identities that we've never really seen in the horror genre before, and a big studio is distributing it, and it'll hopefully reach as many even more people. So what does that, feel like and mean to you to be able to be a part of this?
It's everything. I mean, I'm honored that I was able to tell this story.
Yeah.
Again, about a woman that we have not seen focused on screen. It means so much to me. It's so deeply personal to me. I hope that individuals that have to work in these spaces, domestic workers, feel seen when they watch it. And it just means the world to me. Like it's impossible to articulate, but
Yeah.
and from the inception of reading it, I just couldn't believe that we were telling this story. And then at the same time, couldn't believe we haven't already told this story.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's so timely, and yeah, it means everything to me.
It's appropriate. I think, and I've said this, and we had an opportunity to talk about it, Nick Yatu and I as well. And I actually ended up having this conversation with friends and my representative team, where I was just saying grateful and proud. I'm grateful to be a part of it, but I'm proud to be a part of it because of what it does in terms of narrative storytelling and for storytellers. So often we're coming into a era of consciousness, in a societal era of consciousness, and we're having a prolific Black female director directing an amazing story that's getting revered so high. We have a prolific actress that sometimes these stories aren't written for, and they don't have the ability to show the nuances of all their range. And we've been able to do so many different events while we've been here. And people say, wow, Anna, I'm seeing this thing and I have my eye on you and I didn't know. But it's like, but now you know, and it's not that you didn't know, you just didn't get an opportunity to see. So I'm proud that now that people are getting an opportunity to see her, they get an opportunity to see Nikiatu, and they're going to walk away with a great story that's going to impact, but really, like I said, grateful and proud because of those reasons.
Oh, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you.
I'm not trying to be the character in real life. This is literally how I feel.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Anna and Sinqua, for chatting with me today about Nanny. I really appreciate it. This has been so lovely.